News stories were coming in about this strange virus in Wuhan, China. It was weeks before we saw the first cases in the US. As the numbers went up each day, my curiosity got the best of me, and I started plotting the curves. Here's stories from real people all over the world and how they've responded. I'm Sally Hendrick, founder of Shout Your Cause, and this is COVID-19, The World Responds. You're Kenneth Burks.
Right, and I'm the COO of Soul Supports.
Soul Supports. And that's in Tennessee.
And
You've got a couple of factories, and you just said Hohenwald, and where was the other one? Lyles?
In Lyles, Tennessee.
Lyles, Tennessee.
The company's owned by Dr. Ed Glazer, great person.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you're the COO. And what's going on right now specifically in your area? What are you doing right now?
Here in the Lyles area or in our business?
Well, either one, whichever one you want to start with.
Okay,
I think we'll go both ways.
Here in the local area, most businesses, restaurants, and things are carry out only if they're open.
Okay.
As far as our business is off by about half, and it seems to be declining daily as of last week because doctors of podiatry are not considered essential medicine. So they're not prescribing orthotics, which is what we do. And I believe many of them may be called into hospitals at some point in time because they would be probably a little bit more qualified than a nurse for certain things. So I expect many of those will be called into action in states or will ask to go into action. And then a lot of our older doctors who are near retirement may decide it's time to hang up their shingles. So it may affect our business after this crisis as well.
So tell me, what is it that you're doing to pivot right now? Because when we talked earlier this week, you were frantically trying to figure out how to pivot in your factory.
Right. I've been trying to find something else we could make to keep everybody busy. Face shields seems to be low-hanging fruit, pretty easy to make, but it appears that larger manufacturing facilities have decided to pick up all of the low-hanging fruit, which is really jeopardizing a lot of us smaller businesses that we're more flexible. We can turn on a dime, unlike a big factory. It jeopardizes us because we can't get involved. We're not asking to make a big profit. We're just asking to make enough to keep the lights on and keep our good people in place. I don't care about making a profit as long as I can pay the bills here and pay my people. Mm-hmm. But it's very difficult to even find materials. I can't even locate materials to do it. And then I don't know once I do it, if I can even sell the items. It would be nice to work with some of these bigger companies and let us make the products and they be our supply line.
So are you reaching out to some of these?
We don't have that kind of leadership. I've reached out some, and I've reached out to manufacturers who make the materials. And at this time, I cannot get my hands on the right materials to make it. But I think that's because these other companies have kind of stepped in and they're trying to supply them with the materials, which I don't blame them. They're businesses too. They're just trying to survive.
Right.
But
do you think that they would tap you, the smaller businesses, in any way to help to spread this out around the country as opposed to taking it all on themselves?
I think it would be much better to spread it out around the country, where I'm certain I could supply enough shields for Tennessee and possibly Alabama and Georgia. Mm-hmm. We're right here. I certainly could help with the speed at which they're getting it, because I'm just a few hours drive away, unlike California, which is across the country in 2 days at best to get it in place. I believe I could probably make 8,000 to 10,000 masks a day, or shields a day, and have them at our local hospitals within 12 hours. All of our hospitals in the area: Birmingham, Atlanta, Nashville, North Carolina. All of those things are just an 8-hour drive away from my area. which is a lot more efficient than shipping it from Washington or Oregon or California. I know they're all suffering as well, but I think we should be trying to think local right now instead of trying to think nationally. I think it's more efficient.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. It makes a lot of sense. And it keeps the lights on where you are, keeps the people here
Right.
employed, and so on and so forth. So as far as like having people in the factory, how are you handling the social distancing and the safety measures that we're supposed to have in place?
Well, we're very fortunate the way our factory is laid out. People here have a good distance, probably 10 to 20 feet from each other in most cases. I've also encouraged anybody who feels that they're at risk, at no penalty to themselves. If they feel like it's too risky to be here, I let them off and I tell them to go home. I don't want any of my jeopardized people or people with jeopardized family taking chances and bringing it home to their family. No job is worth killing yourself for.
Definitely not.
And
I really
so,
appreciate that too, because that helps beyond your factory. It helps the communities.
Right. And right now, all of my employees take this very seriously. But I was paying attention in January when they were welding doors shut on the Chinese people. And I knew then that this was not a normal flu, regardless of the lack of attention the press was paying to it at the time. And so I began talking about it with my more aware employees, and they talked about it with their friends. So everyone here has been getting ready themselves for over a month.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, really smart. And my average employee is above 45. So I'm really conscious about taking care of them. I have people with health impairments that, whether they've told me or not, I know exist. And I don't want them sick. I want them to retire here.
So
and their health is very important to me.
What type of connections could we possibly be making for you, for anybody listening to this or anybody that I put this in front of? What type of connections do you need right now? Something with the hospital administrators or what?
Any company that has who is able to make a product and get it to the government, get it to hospitals. There are several large manufacturing facilities. You cannot make all of the face shields and and N95s and other equipment yourself. Find partners in the States, show them what to do, and let them have some of the business. I'm willing to sign a non-compete. After this is over, I don't want that business. You can have it back. All I want to do is keep my people working, do my duty as an American citizen, and keep this thing floating, because this will end and many, many businesses will go away forever if they don't spread this out.
So what have you done so far where you've run into a brick wall, basically?
I have called people who sell materials in several states, and either I don't get a call back because they're swamped or out of business, or I'm told that all of their materials are now spoken for at this time and they have nothing available, which makes me think that, there's big manufacturers just pulling in all of the materials to try to help. And it's admirable. I understand. And at the same time, I do know they're trying to stay afloat too, but this is a big boat. Let's not sink everybody.
So what about, have you contacted Vanderbilt or any other local hospitals, anything in Memphis?
I have not directly called the hospitals. I think they have their hands full.
Yeah.
And just to have somebody begging them for business. I'm not begging for business, but I would like, do they know how to manufacture these parts? I don't think so. They're just calling out their vendors and saying we need something, and the vendors are calling other people trying to get it.
Right.
The hospitals are not in the manufacturing business. They're in the procurement business. They just try to procure goods when they need it. I don't know that hospitals could directly help me.
Even though they're looking, I mean, like do you think that they
They're
can't
calling
change their
people. They're
vendors?
calling people. They're calling their vendors saying, "Help us. We need materials." Their vendors are reaching out to other manufacturers, and I just don't see. I may be mistaken, but I can't imagine some hospital administrator in purchasing calling up factories and asking people, "Can you make me this?" Where
No,
would
I
they even
see
start?
that, but if you have the ability and you know what it takes to literally pivot on a dime and turn around and fulfill what they need, and you're practically next door, maybe we should
Mhm.
make that introduction happen, you know?
Right. Well, I am speaking to the acquaintance that you spoke to me about,
Yeah, Steve
Steve,
Palladino. I'm talking to him next.
and, and he knows what I can do, and he knows the materials I need, and I just haven't heard anything back.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's running into the same problem. We have all kinds of plastics vendors that we deal with anyway, and there's local packaging companies that could do some of this work. One of the things they need is these disposable sterile gowns. There's a plastic bag manufacturer. Why in the world can't they be solicited to make a disposable plastic gown? I think that's something they could probably do. No one has reached out to them for that. Interstate Packaging in Kingston Springs probably could do some stuff. There's another packaging company in Clarksville that could do some things, but there's no coordination from our state leadership, which should be coordinating these things with all the factories.
Yeah.
You would think they would call everyone together and say, "What do you do? What do you make? This is what we need. Here are samples of what we need. What can you do this?"
Mm-hmm.
That would be very useful, because there are a lot of small manufacturers out here that supply all we need for the area, the surrounding area. We have materials on our shelves. It's just the most bizarre thing. We're just trying to figure it out on our own, which is insanity.
Yeah, I agree. Well, maybe we'll get this.
And no party's off the hook. Don't let anybody think that they're off the hook because they're not in the because they're not in the governing leadership party. Look, they're all to blame. No leadership. Leadership can come from either side of the aisle. There's no one on either side of the aisle trying to lead this.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think we need to get that message to our leaders here in this state, and we've got to figure out something.
Yeah, no, they don't need to feel like they're exempt because they're Democrats, or they're exempt because they're Republicans. They're not exempt, and they're supposed to be leading, each one of them. And I am very disappointed with all our leaders, all our leadership, all our elected officials. They have dropped the ball.
So is there, what about the fears you have right now? What are you managing with that?
To me, I'm not afraid. I just don't operate that way. I get mad, not afraid. And what, that's, I'm, you try to push me around and you're going to have to fight me. I'm not going to back away. And that's what I feel like. I'm trying to fight and I have nothing to swat at, and I'm just, I'm blind right now because I don't know where to pick up and which direction to go. I've got capable, smart people who are willing to participate and help make products to help our community, to help our state, to help the United States and everybody around us. Mm-hmm. But I don't have anything that I can do with those talented people. I have software engineers who can write software to make ventilators work. I have, why isn't somebody looking at CPAP machines and seeing if they can use equipment that already exists and build respirators out of? I've heard nothing about that as much as I've Googled it and tried to find. There's some brilliant people that are sitting in all these little communities who could get together and really make a difference. That's what we want to do. We want to get this over and get on with our lives. And all I see is just a winding down and a slow stop to everything that's happening. And if it goes on very long, there are going to be so many businesses that never come back. There are going to be so many displaced people that the fallout will be worse than this disease.
So what is your hope, your biggest hope right now?
My biggest hope is the governors have been tasked with leading this crisis state by state. I would hope they would get the right people from industry and look at what's happening in your state and try to figure out what we can do to help get through this quicker. So everyone comes out the other side alive. And so everyone comes out the other side with a business that's still intact. And we shake this off. And a year from now, we have a 1-year celebration of how we whipped this thing and everyone's made it through.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Right. If they don't
Thank
fix
you.
this in 60 days, my fear is the country will collapse and we're looking at a 1990 USSR situation.
Yeah.
There's only one chance to fix this. It's that bad.
Yeah. Thank you. Your perspective really, really helps. And I look forward to putting this together and getting it out there.
All right. But just
Okay.
anecdotally, I was a teacher for 15 years and worked with emotionally disturbed teenagers. And when you work in mental health, if you can't sense what's going on when you get out of your car, people's lives could be endangered. And so you just develop this sense to kind of pick up on the angst and the stress that's going on around you. And I went through the crisis in 2009, 2008, 2009, spent 99 weeks unemployed before I found a job. And I'm telling you, I feel more stress from people than I've ever felt before. It's very, very serious what's happening. And it's not just the coronavirus that's a problem. The problem is this whole economy can collapse. And we're looking at something far worse than 2008 and 2009. We're talking probably worse than the Great Depression. And I hate to think what the toll would be on human life if that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're already seeing governors try to close their borders to other states.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that since the Civil War. So people better wake up before it's too late.
Yeah, they should. They need to. Well, thank you.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to share with me before we hang up?
No, I think that's all I've got right now. If you hear of anybody who has any materials and needs us to make anything, I've got people aching to work. I've cut everyone down to 30 hours right now. I'm paying their benefits for them. I don't want anyone to be uninsured during this.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut anybody below full time because I'm afraid if I have to lay them off, that could affect their unemployment. And there's some grants, some loans that become grants where I could keep everybody employed. We can clean, mop, sweep. We could do things to be productive. There's things I can do if I can keep everybody here. I just don't want to dislocate my really super great employees that I love, and they're my family. I spend more time with them than I do my family. We work 10-hour shifts. I'm here with them every day.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Send love to all of your employees and everybody where you are, and we'll get this out there, and I'll let you know.
We're going to survive. I don't have much debt here, but so when this all shakes out, please come see us.
Okay, we will.
I'll give you a tour.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening today. Subscribe to this podcast to hear all our episodes. Go to shoutyourcause.com to our podcast page for information on our guests and notes from this show.